What's going on, everyone? So today we're back with another update patch notes review, and today we have 10.11. It wasn't until last week we already went over 10.10 bonus balance. So with high res being recently throwing out the bonus balance and then a week later throwing out the update notes for like the next big patch, just keep in mind, I guess, that these videos are going to come out like a week apart if they're just going to keep doing that. Because if you guys don't remember, like I think earlier in this season, it would be like they'd come out with the bonus balance maybe a week or two after, and then a week or two after the bonus balance is when the actual update would go up. So they haven't been doing that recently. They've been waiting a while to do the bonus balance for whatever reason. It doesn't really matter, but we're in the fourth quarter of 10.11, or sorry, season 10. So we are almost there. I can't believe the season is almost done. I think there's probably gonna be 3 more main updates, or maybe 1 if I'm thinking about this. If it's 10.12, we might only have 1 more big update, I think, for this season, but we'll see. But this has been uploaded 6 hours ago, and apparently this part of the video that I uploaded, or that I recorded, didn't record properly, but the next, like, however long this video was recorded. So I'm doing this twice, but with that, I'm just gonna skip to we're just gonna skip to the part where I actually start talking. Luckily, it starts right as I talk about the updates, about what they're changing, so that is good at least. But before that, like I said earlier in my other update notes, if you want to take a look at this yourself, the URL will be in the description down below. But with that, let's skip to let's just skip to the part where I actually start talking. Or not splash damage, splash radius by 5, with that new added mechanic to the Titan where it's a splash radius. So yeah, Titan does a lot of damage, as it should though, as it is a single target. And it can come from 3 different directions of minions. So I do believe that Titan should be what it should be. A Titan, the last resort, should be a strong defense, I suppose. But yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it did do a lot of damage, but I don't know how much. I don't really know if that's necessary, but that's just Conquest. Demon Blade increased physical power from 25 to 30 and increased attack speed from 10% to 15. That's actually fine, as long as they're not upping the crit. I think this is fine. Do keep in mind though, is if they keep upgrading the power, which they really haven't been with any of the crit items, it won't matter how much crit chance you have. The physical power and the attack speed will eventually overpower even all the other items like Kins, Aussie, Devos, for example, and crit will take over the meta again. But crit is in a fine place, I think. Demon Blade being your better ones as far as your auto attack gods go. I still think Blade of Boomerang is still good. They didn't really change it that much, and they did change Demon Blade in a negative direction a lot recently. But now that they've upped this, I still think that Demon Blade's gonna be better than Boomerang, I think. Eldrick's Dagger. This is your other one. The other dagger, I can't remember what it was, but it's a combination of your attack speed slow, and so that's that one. This one is where you get protections when you use a relic, I believe. And now they're increasing the duration from 10 seconds to 20 seconds. Now, Relic Dagger is already a really good item, especially in Conquest, but even in Joust, and it was only 10 seconds that I think you get bonus protections. Now that it's now doubled, that's a whole fuck ton of amount of time that you're getting that increase. So yeah, I think this item was already better in Conquest anyways. So if you are going to go Relic Dagger, if you're not going up against gods that have a lot of attack speed, for example, then I think Eldritch Dagger is going to be your go-to, even before this buff. But now I think this is just going to be, yeah, this is definitely going to be your go-to. If it's lasting for 20 seconds, that's a whole year in terms of smite time. I don't know if that change was necessary, but we'll see. Erosion, this item I like the idea of this item, but it wasn't executed properly. But let's see. Decreased cost from 2250 to 2200. That's fine. The item was already cheap as hell anyways, so that 50 gold is not going to mean that much. And then yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I literally said the last time about erosion. I think the range was a little bit less than 40 before this. I can't remember. Something was wrong with it that I was just like, I don't know. Maybe it was the amount of shields that it'd be taking off. I think that's what they did. I can't exactly remember, but I remember specifically talking. I'm like, it's the range. You have to be like 5, like you have to be really close to your enemies or your allies and enemies to have any type of effect. Mainly the enemies. And I don't know why I said allies. This doesn't affect allies. This affects enemies. But you had to be so close to them, and it didn't really matter. Like if you were next to somebody who, or if somebody threw down like a shell from a little far away, or not even like that far away, but it was like somewhere in the vicinity where you're close to it, it didn't proc. But now with this 15 extra units is a pretty decent amount. So if let's say Yeb shields somebody and you're close to that person, that Yeb shield isn't going to do quite nearly as much. So I definitely think that erosion is way better now, and you can actually pick this up and have an effect. Before it didn't, like, at all. Like the erosion was kind of dog shit. I like the item because it's a niche item to help people with shields, like Vamana for example, or Geb or Shell, and there weren't any items to counter this effect of shields and stuff. So oh, and Pridwin is a good one too. With Reverent Pridwin, erosion is now a lot better for that too. If you see like 2 people have Reverent Pridwin, then erosion is definitely a good pickup. They upped the stats on this, I believe, too, just like the base stats, protections, I think, by a little bit, I believe. So this item now is, I think, in a very good spot. I don't think it's the best item in the world. Erosion will always have that niche effect where you're not going to build it every game, and not that you should anyways, but definitely like this item a lot more now, and you should be picking this up if you see them have Shell, Pridwin. If they have like a Vamana, for example, then erosion is a good pickup. Not every time, but is a definitely good pickup if they have like an oppressive amount of shields. Oboe increased attack speed from 30% to 35%. It's not that big of a change, but did Oboe need this? I think with Oboe, you're only buying this for how cheap it is, for its passive and its attack speed. And I think the attack speed was in a good spot. They did nerf the passive a long time ago, and I don't think they ever changed it. So I'm not necessarily mad about this, but I think Oboe was already in a good spot to be built on most most hunters to begin with. Now there are better items in the meta currently in terms of conquest, but in Joust you basically bought Oboe. You buy Oboe a little bit later now. The meta's changed a little bit in terms of Joust, where Oboe isn't as necessary, but it's certainly a good item to go still. I think Oboe is going to be a little bit better choice now, just by it's only 5%, which isn't all that important. But with Oboe, you're only getting attack speed and its stats, so base stats at least. So definitely going to have an impact, but at the same time, it's it's not the greatest, or I'm sorry, not the greatest, not the biggest. So Shadow Drinker, this item sucks. This item's dog shit. Like the passive is so niche. It's cool concept, but it's so niche. You would only build this on like a Loki, but there are better items to go on Loki anyways. Now this item did have a little bit of a meta play during the beginning of the season when it first came out, because it was decent, but it's really not that great right now. I think them changing like the gold cost is fine, but I think they need to up the stats. It's the only other item that has flat pen, which is an interesting concept there. I think it just needs to have a little bit more difference in stats, and maybe they need to change the passive, because the passive, in my opinion, is just whatever. What do they say about this item? This item has a sneaky, powerful passive that is often overlooked due to it being slightly too cost inefficient to justify grabbing it early. We're hoping to see more sick outplays with blah blah blah. The item was already cheap to begin with. Like, I'm not necessarily cheap, but like it's not that expensive. It's like I think 100 gold less than Hydra's. I don't think it was really the necessarily the, because I guess you can build this with assassins now, because assassins, I do believe, get flat pen. I think that's the assassin's buff, or the assassin's passive. You just get flat pen, which is actually really good early game if you pair it with a cheap item like Shadow Drinker. So maybe, but at the same time, Jotuns gives you flat pen too, and it gives you way more stats. And so, I mean, I don't know why you would ever build Shadow Drinker when you can just build Jotuns and have everything else. Shadow Drinker, I think, gives a little bit more power, but I think the passive, along with like what the item gives you, needs to be a little bit more, because nobody builds Shadow Drinker at all. So I don't think giving it 100 less gold is going to make it that much more incentivizing, but I guess we'll see. Soul Gem was a meta item for a long time. But when they changed the damage changes to Soul Gem, and then they gave it a little bit of a nerf, it just fell out of the meta. So decreased cost by 50 gold, that's whatever. Increased magical damage from 60 to 70. Now that's interesting. That's going to be definitely a game changer. 10 power is a decent amount of power. Soul Gem is definitely good on your gods like Nuwal that can proc it all on every single god with her ult. It's good on gods like maybe Merlin or Rajan, for example, but not like all that impactful. But with a new increased power with a little bit less gold, I think Soul Gem's gonna be played a little bit more, because this item isn't really played anywhere. It has like a bunch of great stats. I mean, it gives you 10% cooldown, has a great passive, has a decent amount of power. One thing to keep in mind though, if they're gonna keep doing this type of thing where they keep increasing power slightly for each item, there's going to be a power, or there's going to be a power creep that I think is going to inevitably ensue. So do keep in mind, high res, that don't want to do this too often. This should be once in a blue moon type of thing. Hopefully that's what they're doing. But we move Stone of Gaia, another item that's fallen from the grace of heavens, if you remember from season 8 or season 8, I think, where this item was the best item in the game at one point, I think. Maybe it was season 7 too, I can't remember. Stone of Gaia, such a dog shit item. Well, I wouldn't say dog shit, but like it's just not impactful. Even with its passive, you would think that there's so many CC things that you can do, like knock up, knockback, pull, or grab, like it says right here. You would think that the giving it health and stuff would make it to where, you know, it would be a decent item, but no, not really. There's so many other better items in the game right now that you would choose over Stone of Gaia. Like Onis. Also keep in mind, Stone of Gaia I don't think gives you any protections. Or did they change that? No, so yeah, they did not change that. I thought they did, man. They just changed the total cost, but no, yeah, it gives you no protections. It does give you a lot of health, HP at 5, MP5, but its passive is where it's really important. And honestly, I think it's a fine item. Like I said, I don't think it's dog shit, but it's a fine item. It's just there's so many better items to go instead of Stone of Gaia. But when affected by knock up, knockback, pull, or grab, gain 15 physical power and 25 magical power for 5 seconds. That's interesting. Okay, so they're giving it power, but they're not giving it defense. I feel like you're only buying this on gods who build defense. I don't know why you would really... I don't know why you'd give it power. Maybe for solo laners, but I feel like protections would be a lot better, seeing as you're getting CC'd. So if you're getting CC'd, you're going to get more protections. While like you're knocked up, you should be getting more protections instead of power. You're not going to be able to utilize that power until after you're done with the CC. Whatever. I guess this is cool. I think this should be defense, like in all honesty. Especially seeing as you're buying Stone of Gaia on your solo laners. Or maybe your supports, but usually it's your solo laners. But okay, I guess that's fine. Nothing incredible. It's fine. I think this item is definitely going to be picked up more. I don't know if it's going to be meta. I guess we'll see. But it's fine. It's nothing crazy. It's interesting though. It's interesting. It's a very interesting thing that they added. That's not something you usually see from what Hi-Rez does. But Stone of Gaia needs a buff anyway, so definitely something better. Alternate timeline. This item, man. It's like it only happens like every 6-7 minutes or something, which is good in Conquest. Joust, this is basically useless unless you can get it to level 20. But usually a lot of the times when you build this item, you just use it for its passive once and then you sell it for another item because you're never getting the passive back up. But with Conquest being a late game type of game mode now, maybe you do. But I don't think it's passive and it's stats are all that significant when compared to like Pendulum of the Ages, for example. But let's see what they're changing. Increased respawn health and mana from oh baby, okay. Wow, that is a lot. That is also one thing I did forget to mention. Alternate timeline, when it's passive procs, you're just standing there just waiting to be killed. And so a lot of times what will happen is you'll just get CC'd to death and you'll just die a second time. So the alternate timeline is so useless. Now it's 40%, meaning you're basically getting half of your health back. With the protections that alternate timeline gives you, this might actually be pretty decent. You might be able to get out of like getting killed, because a lot of times, like I said, you would just get basically spawn camped after you get the passive from this. But with 40%, that's a decent amount. If you have an escape ability, then you should be able to, you know, as long as it's up, you should be able to leave and maybe potentially not die. Like if you're a Raj and you build alternate timeline, you die and then you could use your 3 to get away potentially. Damn, that is actually a big change. I think alternate timeline is a lot better now, because now you don't really have to worry too much about dying. Now it's only 40%, but that's basically 50% of your health, and you're a mage still, so you're still gonna get destroyed, but it might give you enough leeway to run away depending on the god that you have. So honestly, this is a good change. I like this change a lot. Soul Eater has been in the meta for a long time. Soul Eater on gods like Pele, Mulan, basically like even Camazotz, for example, has been really good. And so it's only 2100 gold. It's so fucking cheap. And then they increased it by 150 gold, which is a decent amount, actually. That's a lot of gold. So honestly, I think that's warranted though. Hey, is this under nerfs or is this just changes in general? I think this is just under changes, because this is a nerf, right? Am I reading this right? Increased cost from 21. Yeah, that's a nerf. Okay. All these are buffs. All these are buffs. I'm like, wait, this is a nerf? Okay. All right, gods buffs. Here we go, baby. Osiris, increased movement speed from 25% to 30%. That's fine. They've been slowly increasing Osiris's stats over like the past couple of patches, so you can definitely feel it if you're going up or playing as Osiris, or even playing with Osiris. There's been like slight increases. Like I think she got a buff increase in terms of, I think it's just the stats it gives you, and then the 3 has more, I think, damage. And now we're getting increased movement speed with her. One thing with the Osiris in Conquest, she's a very good early game god and can definitely punish you and snowball throughout the game. So hopefully this doesn't make it to where she's too oppressive, but I think Osiris was already in a fine spot, so the small tweaks hopefully don't change too much from her. But we'll definitely see. Hopefully it doesn't have like a Pele effect where, you know, Pele did one thing but now Pele does everything. I hope that's not the same thing with Osiris, but it's only 5% increased movement speed, which isn't too crazy. All right, Cthulhu, the Mire. This is his 2, I believe. Yeah. All right, decrease cooldown from 18 to, oh my god. Okay, so it's just 14 seconds at all ranks, even early game. Wow. Okay, that's a lot. 4 seconds is a lot. Okay. All right. And then Descend in the Madness, increase max health from 20% to 25%. Jesus. Okay, that's actually a decent amount too, because Cthulhu's ult already had a fuck ton of health anyways. You can get health cap, I think, which is like 5,500 or something close to that. So now you're definitely gonna reach cap every time if you're gonna get 5% increased max health, which is a double-edged sword, depending on who you're going up against, because Kins exist, Soul Reaver exists, and yeah, so double-edged sword. But the Mire having 4 seconds, that's a lot. That's gonna make him really good, because that was one of his well, I guess now it's one of his biggest issues, because now it's 14 seconds, 4 seconds right off the bat. And seeing as you were leveling up his 1 anyways, you're not leveling up his 2, which means you're gonna have this up anyways. So you're gonna have your 1 on slow, on very you're just gonna be throwing out your abilities, because your 1's gonna be on shortened cooldown just because you're leveling it up, and be doing more damage as well. And now your 2 is just going to be up a lot quicker, so you're going to be able to throw out your abilities a lot. So you're going to be able to spam with Cthulhu early game. And if you get Breastplate online soon, which you usually do right now with Cthulhu, I mean, Jesus, you're gonna be pumping out. So this is gonna make his early game a lot more interesting, I will say. I think this is gonna make him in the solo lane a lot better. Like a lot better. Just even with the cooldown, I think it's gonna be a lot better. Cupid. Yeah, Cupid is one of those gods that hasn't been the meta since like season 8 or some shit. He's like kind of underwhelming. He has everything you want in a hunter, basically. You got escape, you have a stim, you have a stun, you have a lockdown ult. So you have mostly everything you want with a hunter, but he's just, there's so many other gods that have just better than Cupid. Like Hachiman, for example, being one of those. So, all right. Let's see. Share the love. If ally picks up heart, Cupids also heals for 60% of the value, which is good. I like that a lot. I always felt weird that it only gave you mana. I feel like with Cupid, when you throw out your 2, you should just get a little bit of your health. It should just be a thing, because although you're throwing it out for your team, you're basically doing it for yourself a lot of the time. Now, of course, you would throw it out for your teammates, but at the same time, you would just throw it out for yourself. Now you can just throw it out for your teammates, and you don't really need to necessarily pick up the heart. Although it's only 60% of the value, is 60% more than what you had before, which is 0. So, or 100% more than what you had before, which is 0, is what I meant to say. I think that's how that math works. Honestly, very good change. I like that a lot. Not going to change them too much, but I do like that. That's sort of like a, I think that was what's the word called again? Quality of life. Yeah, quality of life. I think that should have been a thing to begin with. Flutter, which is 3, I believe, right? Increase passive attack speed from 3 to 15 to 4 to 20. That's fine. I mean, the passive that you got from upgrading is 3, which I believe this is, wasn't all that significant. It's cool because you just get an extra 15% attack speed if you level it up. But now it's a little bit more, so you might have to you may have a bit of a change in terms of leveling up your abilities. Instead of your 2, you could just level up your 3, and that was always sort of like the dilemma anyway. So who knows, you may level up your 3 now more with this change too. So a little bit of a quality of life to him. I like this a lot. I don't think Cupid's gonna be all that great anyways, but I still think Cupid is just your middle of the way type of hunter. Hera, please, I hate this god so much. To all you Hera mains, I'm sorry, but I hate this god because she's so fucking annoying with everything. But let's see what they do. I know she does need a little bit of a buff. Let's see. In polymorph, increased base damage from 90 to 270 to 90 to 290. So it's just gonna be an incremental increase by 20 damage, which is a decent amount actually, but not too crazy. But they're increasing the damage scaling. Okay, that's gonna be, oh man, okay. When they increase damage scaling, that makes me want to throw up, because that's a lot on top of the already scaling that you get as a mage anyway. So yeah, okay, it's not the craziest change, but you are going to be doing a lot of damage, because not only are you getting flat damage of 20, but you're also getting a 5% increased damage based on how much power you have. So cool, I guess. Not really, but whatever. We'll see. And then Divine Shroud, that's her 3. Decreased cooldown from 16 to, this is also another thing with Hera. Her 3 was just so busted. Now, with the removal of Book of the Dead, which I believe stacked with her 3, or just stacked, man, I don't think it's, maybe it's stacked, I don't remember. But shields with Hera. I'm so glad they got rid of that item, although I did like the item a little bit. But Hera 3 being on a shortened cooldown, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, she doesn't have a real getaway ability, so her 3 counts as that, which I think is fine. But it's so annoying having to be like, oh shit, okay. She's gonna use her 3 and she's just gonna gain a health shield right off the bat, and I can't do anything about it for the most part, which is whatever. It's kind of how Hera is. But in my opinion, I think she's just so fucking annoying. So, although I do think she needs buffs because she's not that great, in terms of Joust, she's gonna be even more annoying, so that's gonna be great. Hunbats, I don't think Hunbats needs a buff or a nerf at all. I think Hunbats, you're gonna be your solid assassin to the end of the time, until the end of time, because of what he brings to the table. But I guess we are buffing him a decent amount, 3 things. So generally speaking, he's getting an increased MP5 from 3.9 to 4.4, which is fine. Not that crazy. Increased MP5 per level to what, 0.11? So it's whatever. You're basically getting 0.1 increased MP5, which doesn't matter at all. Somersault, which I believe, is that his jump? I don't play him enough. Okay, no, that's his 1. Okay, so his 1's going to be on a shortened cooldown right off the bat by 2 seconds, and then it'll sort of level out. Okay. I guess that's fine. He's going to be a lot better now. He's not going to be able to die because you just throw, or you have this up all the time early game. And then in Fear No Evil, which is his ult, increased damage tick from 30 to 50 to 50 at all ranks. Okay, so his early game is going to be a lot better, and I thought his early game was fine to begin with. It was a little bit less than like the baseline to a lot of other gods. Okay, so his ult's just gonna be doing a lot more damage to begin with, and then now his 1's gonna be up, so you can just escape a lot easier. Okay, so Hunbat's gonna be a lot better early game. E-Shell, oh god, I hope we're not buffing her. Let's see, Rainbow Weaver, that's her passive. Increased enhanced basic attack range from 55 to 70. That's fine. Her auto never really, I mean, it was a cool concept, but like you never really got it off perfectly, and if you did, it wasn't all that great. I remember thinking that Poly was gonna be really good on her, and it still is, but I think other items sort of just are better for her because of her passive not being all that significant. Increased enhanced basic auto attack, basic attack projectile speed from 10% by 10%. Okay, so basically sort of like a Griffin Wing effect. That's actually nice. I like that. Her passive wasn't all that great in terms of her auto, like I said, so that is actually kind of nice. I like that a lot. And then her ult is Isho gains 15% damage mitigation while chaining on stability. Honestly, similar to Baron, you're sort of just not able to move. You're just stuck there. You're a bigger target for you to be attacked by, on top of the fact that you're not really doing that much damage with E-Shell ult unless you're like in front of, or unless you're hitting your teammate as well. So, you know, I'm fine with that. It's only 15%, so not too much, but that does mean that she was a little bit used in the support role. Not too terribly, like a lot, but that's going to make her a little bit better in the support role, I suppose. So the changes aren't too bad. I feel like she's in a good place to begin with. She just bursts people down, especially if you have a lot of mana. Like if you build Book of Thoth on her, you just never run out of mana and you just throw out your abilities a lot. So this isn't too bad. And I think for the most part, it's just quality of life, which is nice. Cuckoo Khan. Haven't had a buff with him in fucking forever from what I remember. This guy is your basic mage. Does the things that he does good is basically just being safe, throwing out damage, and being able to secure a lot of damage with your ult, being able to one-shot basically. So standard, middle of the road, very noob friendly type of god. So Slipstream now gains slow immunity for the entire duration. I assumed it was that to begin with. I actually had no idea that Slipstream, the slow immunity, wasn't the entire time. Okay, well, I feel like that should have been anything to begin with, but I guess it wasn't. Whatever, I guess that's good. And then Whirlwind, increased damage scaling from 15% to 7. Ooh. Now that's spicy. Because keep in mind, Whirlwind does damage over time. So you throw out your 3, and you're getting 2% damage increase on each individual proc, if I'm reading that correctly. So that's actually pretty nice. Maui, I think Maui in Conquest, I think he's an undervalued god in Conquest. In Joust, he's whatever, he's not that great. In Conquest, I don't know what happened. Maybe his nerfs got to him, but I thought Maui, and still think Maui is a very good god in terms of your guardian. I don't know what happened. But apparently, you know, nobody's really picking up. So with his 1, decrease self-slow from 80% to 50%, that's a decent amount. Whenever you used your 1, you basically weren't able to move. You were just stuck there. You're basically fucking CCing yourself, which is nice that they're bringing it down to 50%. So that's nice. And then decrease cooldown from 110 at all ranks to 90 once you level it up. Okay, so late game, he's just going to have this up every time. Which honestly, I'm fine with, because Maui's ult is basically his bread and butter. It's his most, it does so much base damage, it brings so much utility to the table, then honestly I'm fine with that. Neath, okay. So Unravel, this is her circle ability that heals, I believe. Increased damage scaling from 80% to 100%. Okay, well, to be fair, it didn't do that much damage to begin with. Whenever you get hit by this, you take like 100 damage. And who cares about this? So honestly, that's worth. Increased healing from 15 to 75 to 20 to 80. Not too much, which is fine. She heals so much off this anyways, so giving her a little bit more is fine. She's not that great of a god right now anyways. And then weave heal from 30 to 150 to... Okay, so that's just with her passive and whatnot. Okay, that's fine. Not going to change her too much. They've already buffed her so much anyways, and she's still not that great. So, who knows? Maybe she's a sleeper hunter. But I think this is fine. Osiris getting a big buff, it seems. Yeah, recently when he's gotten his change to his 1 going through minion waves, which is actually kind of crazy. I think his 3 got a little bit of a change, and I can't remember, something else got changed. Maybe it was his passive, I think, got changed to where, I don't remember exactly. He got a bunch of buffs, but specifically his 1, which now goes through waves. It still didn't bring him up. It didn't do that much to him, which is kind of funny because I thought it was going to be a very significant change to make him on top of the meta, but I guess it didn't. So let's see what we got. Sickle Strike, increased damage to minions from 50% to 75%. Okay, that's actually nice. That's actually a lot. So now he can clear. I mean, he was already kind of a lame bully to begin with, so this is just gonna make him even more of a lame bully. I just think his overall presence wasn't all that great. Judgment Tether, decreased cooldown by 1 second. Not too much, but again, seconds always count in Smite. And then his ult, Lord of the Afterlife, added effect to debuff enemies that afflicts them with 20% negative cooldown reduction. What the fuck? Okay. That's such a weird change. Okay, so it's basically like an abyssal stone that you just get. Okay, let me think about this. If you ult and hit somebody, then they just get negative 20% cooldown reduction. I don't know how I feel about this. Because this is either really like whatever, or it's like really, really good. Because you ult in, you just throw all your abilities, seeing as your 1 is such a small cooldown. If you hit multiple people... Oh baby, I think he's gonna be really good in Joust. Wow, okay. Because the likelihood of you hitting a lot of people significant or consistently in Joust, seeing as you're all grouped together, I think this is gonna be really good. I think, honestly, I think Osiris is gonna be a lot better in Joust. In Conquest, he's gonna be a lot better because 20% negative cooldown reduction is such a novel thing that they've brought to Smite. And it doesn't really, nobody buys Abyssal Stone, and so we haven't really seen like the actual effects that it has if it ever becomes meta. I don't think I've ever been hit by Abyssal Stone where I'm like, oh, my cooldowns are about to, oh wait, what the fuck, why are my cooldowns going off? I don't think it's ever happened to me, so I don't even know like how impactful this is if it ever becomes meta. But with Osiris having it just in his ult, just because, I mean, that's gonna be really good on Osiris, because like I said, whenever you get close to somebody, you just dump your abilities, meaning that you know, they're not gonna be able to throw anything out while you're just throwing out yours. And if you pair this with Abyssal Stone, if it stacks, ooh, that's gonna be interesting. Osiris Abyssal Stone with his ult might be the wave. We're gonna have to see about that. I'm actually gonna test that out. I want to try and test that out, maybe in like a video or something like that. We'll see. Very interesting changes. Very interesting. I think that he was definitely in need of them. So very interesting. We're going to see about that. Ratatasker. So Evergreen Acorn increased max health from 10% to 15%, which is that's a lot. Jesus, that's like a third of what it was, and you're just increasing it. Or now you're in half, actually. You're increasing it by half. 15%. Okay. I don't know how I feel about that. That means tank rats can be a lot better, so I think maybe Evergreen's better in Joust now too. We'll have to see about that. Bristle Bush Acorn increased dart damage from 35% to 40. That's fine. Nothing too much. Rat's always been a weird type of assassin that's either good or just like kind of a meme pick. Alright, Scylla Sikkim, that's your 1. Increased root duration from 1.15 to 1.75 at levels to... Ooh! Okay, so we're just going to be upgrading Scylla's early game too, especially with her 2 change. This definitely going to make her early game a lot better, seeing as you're going to be throwing out your 1 and they're just going to be chilling there for a hot 2 seconds basically instead of 1. Definitely a lot better. Her early game, I think this is exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to mess with her early game so that she doesn't get farmed until like she just gets snowballed on, for example. So I'm fine with this. We'll just have to see though, because Scylla's kind of very oppressive late game, and so if she's able to snowball early game, I don't know how I feel about that. Sylvanas, all right. Verdant Growth, which I think is his passive when he throws out his plant. Added 5% dam protection reduction on pod explosion. Yeah, I think that's his passive. Okay, that's fine. I mean, that's sort of what you do when he throws out his 1, and or maybe it's not his passive. Is that his 1, and it's passive, or when it becomes a plant? I think that's what it is. I'm fine with that. That's pretty. I mean, it's whatever. 5% protection reduction is pretty nice. I don't think it's gonna have too much of an impact because it is probably just gonna go off relatively soon. But Wisp's decrease cooldown from 2 seconds. That's nice. Sylvanas has been a weird one because he's not really all that great in any type of game mode. So honestly, it's a fine change. Not gonna change him too much, but oh my god, look at this paragraph that they have for Uller, man. They want Uller back in this meta. Jesus. All right, Uller. I believe they recently changed his ult to begin with, to where in each given stance you have, I think, the inverse of what it originally was, with the attacks, or no, it was lifesteal in its arrow form, and then I believe, I don't remember the other one actually. Why am I blanking? I think it was, I don't remember. Actually, I don't know. Okay, so thrown axe bladed arrow for each individual. Increased damage scaling by 5%, which is a decent amount if you're playing Uller, because keep in mind you're building straight up damage. So 5% of like 300 is what, 15 damage? Just getting 15 more damage just because. Okay. Expose weakness. All right, that's his 2. Removed power buff. Really? Added 20 to 40% attack speed buff. Okay. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that, because with Uller you never really use this for, you use this for its power, for his autos, and not as attack speed. You don't care about attack speed on Uller. I don't really like that. I don't think that's going to help him at all, unless I'm missing something. That doesn't seem like a buff at all. And then wield bow, wield axes. Remove attack speed buff. Added physical power. Oh, okay. 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 I see what they're doing. They're just changing the passives. I see. Honestly, that's fine then. I thought maybe they were just getting rid of the physical power, but no, they're not. That's actually good. This is crazy, actually, now I think about this, because this is just going to be passive. You're just getting passive power whenever you're in your bow stance, I think. Yeah, that's actually kind of crazy. Yeah, because you had to use your 2 in order to get this, and you never really leveled up your 2, which is actually nice. Now you're just going to have it passively whenever you level up your ult, which means you're never leveling up your 2 now anyways, so that's going to be cool. I kind of like this change, actually, because like I said, the physical powered buff you had to proc with your 2, and now you're just going to get it passively, which is nice. And I think about what the changes that I had with Uller earlier, they need to be careful, because if they keep buffing him, he's going to be on the top of the meta again. If we're ever into an ability-based meta, Uller's going to be on the top, unfortunately, because of how many buffs they've given him. But we shall see. Uller, I definitely think, needed that to begin with. Jing Chen. Hook Slam. Increased attack or axe damage from 25 to 85 to 35 to 95. That's fine. They don't do any scaling, so 10 is good. Increased slam damage from 50 to 170 to 55 to 175. Just 5 damage. So you're basically getting 15 more damage overall. And an increased root. Ooh, okay, so his early game's gonna be a lot better. Okay. So instead of 1 second right off the bat, you're getting 1.6, but it slowly scales off, and it'll reach 2 seconds anyways to begin with. So honestly, this is really good, because you never leveled up his 2 to begin with. With this change, now you don't have to worry about that, seeing as if we're gonna look at it what it was before to what it is now, you'd have to level it up to 3 times, and not even 3 times, to get similar to what it will be now. So this is actually really nice. Jing Chen has not been in the meta. I think he's a very good god for what he does with his beads burning capability, with his one against hunters, for example, that reduces their attack, auto attack damage. He has decent decent setup with his 2 and his 3 being able to, you know, traverse around the map, which is actually pretty nice. So Whirlwind of Rage and Steel, change mana cost from 110 to 70 to 70 to 110. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Why would you... Oh, this is a weird type of inverse type of thing. Okay, it makes sense that you want to have it to where the mana cost is less in the beginning. Why did you have... Well, why are we increasing the mana? I don't know how I feel about this. I think this is better for his early game. And at the end of the game, 110 won't be that big of a change or that big of a significant increase in mana to have that big of a change on him. So this is honestly fine. It's a little weird the way this looks actually, but I guess it's fine. Jing Chen is a little bit better now. Yu Huang, Flames of Phoenix. That's his 1. I don't play him too much, but that's his 1. Decrease cooldown from 11 to 9. Oh no. Oh baby. So if you get Sands of Time, Chronos, you're getting, and Deso, for example, you're basically getting what? That's a 5-second cooldown without Chronos passive, without Bow, without your cooldown shard. Oh baby. I think he needed it to begin with, but at the same time, I don't think that, because Yu Huang is the safest god in the game with your 3 having CC immunity. You're just in the air you're just chilling up in the air for like 3 seconds. Your ult has CC immunity. And then with Yu Huang, seeing as you're buying beads, Aegis all the time anyways, you still have those up. So you have 3 different avenues of peel ability for yourself, even if you don't have a Guardian to help you. So very safe mage, the safest mage in my opinion in the game. But now we're getting him more cooldown. Eek, I don't know, man. You have to see how that is, because he does a fuck ton of damage as well. But you know, we're going to see about that. I'm going to be playing him more, honestly, seeing as I'm a mage type of player to begin with anyways. All right, now we're going into some nerfs. Ganesha needed a nerf anyways. He's just so good. Ganesha, such a good god. He's always been the same, where he's your type of guardian that sets up perfectly, but also does a fuck ton of damage with his ult and his 1 and his great stun to knock up in his 3. But definitely has been dominating the meta for the past couple of patches, I believe. So Dharmic Pillars, decrease protection reduction from 15 to 55. So that's just 5 protections overall, which is a decent amount, but not too significant. And then decrease slow from 35% to 30. Not anything game breaking, just a little bit of a tweak. I don't think it's going to bring him down at all. But yeah, Ganesha can one-shot somebody. If you buy Pridwin, you hit them in the combo on the damage part of your ult, and you have your 1-up, you can basically kill them all with your Pridwin proc as well. So Ganesha is still going to be very good. All right, Set has been very good, especially I've been seeing people like in the SPL. Set has been fucking crazy, calling back to fucking Sot, who fucking, I can't believe that shit. If you don't know, in the SPL, which you guys should be watching, Sot was able to base defense. The enemy team was at his Titan, and he was able to basically defend. He got a penta. He got a penta in the SPL with Set, which is not okay. I don't believe that's okay. So as much as I love playing Set, he definitely needed a nerf. So let's see. Decreased scaling damage from 90% to 85%, which is just 5%, but at the same time, his skewer does so much damage. It's actually crazy. With Warrior's Axe and like a little bit of power, you're able to you're able to half hit somebody like a squishy with this. Spawn of Set, decreased dash damage from 50 to 70 to 40 to 60. Yeah, that's exactly what that was. The combination between his 1 and his 2, even though it's kind of his bread and butter outside of his ult and like auto canceling with his 2, for example, his 1-2 combo was so fucking oppressive, and you couldn't do a lot about it. So Yeah, that's exactly what they were targeting here with the 1-2 combo, and honestly, it's definitely warranted, especially seeing as they buffed the high hell out of Set when I don't think he necessarily needed it with his 3, for example, being on like a negative cooldown or whatever the fuck they did to him. So definitely warranted, and that is it. Okay, so we didn't go and damn it. Overall, this was a good patch. They didn't target anything that I really wanted with Charon and Breastplate of Valor. I'm assuming that they think they want to have Breastplate of Valor in the line